Hi, my name's Lindsey St John. I live in America, in San Diego, California. My Instagram account is Lindsey St John. So the explanation for my work, I would say the overarching theme is your common, ordinary subject matter, places and scenes where people live and work on a daily basis and never really take a second thought to. So a lot of my work is focused on buildings. I tend to gravitate towards shopping malls and business parks and industrial areas, and I'll often find myself in a business park or on a quiet street where there's nobody around, and shooting buildings and building facades and sort of some of the extraneous things around there. And once you get past that, the focus on my work is basically composition, and there's sort of a certain graphical quality to it. I do have an experience as a designer, so I think that definitely creeps into my work. So a lot of shapes and lines and texture and color. So my motivation, and it hasn't changed from the very beginning. I've been doing this probably about 5 or 7 years now. I have a day job as a graphic designer, so I'm in front of the computer a lot of hours. And my original intent was just to get outside and do something different away from the computer, and just something fun and inexpensive. So I did have an interest in photography, so I just took that up, and basically that was my main motivation, and it still is today. So inspiration goes, there's several photographers on Instagram that I'm following right now, and they're always producing quality work that's very inspiring, nice consistency and simplicity, and great compositions. I would say the main one though is there's a photographer from the 70s and 80s named Louis Baltz, who photographed building facades in Orange County during the 70s and 80s. And his whole approach is very inspiring to me. He kind of changed the way I approached my photography. I was doing landscapes when I first started doing this stuff, and after we're looking at his work, there's something, a light bulb went off in my head, and I started approaching subject matters that I never really thought of doing before. And if you look at my work and you look at his work, Louis Baltz, you can definitely see some parallels. So I would say he's probably the main one. There's several other ones from that era who kind of do the same thing, Frank Golke and Stephen Shore, but I would say Louis Baltz is the main guy. So right now I'm basically just considering myself a hobbyist photographer. I just shoot on the weekends and occasionally on weekdays after hours, after I get off my work. So when I first started photography, I was actually doing film. I took a black and white film class in college, and I just fell in love with the whole process and having the control and everything. I actually bought some darkroom equipment to do stuff from home, and I could never find the time to actually sit down and develop and print a lot of photography. So when digital came out, at first I was a little skeptical, but eventually the cameras and the whole process became much more advanced, and it's a lot easier to do it that way. And frankly, that's kind of the way I'm doing it now. I really don't see myself going back to film. It's just too time consuming, and although I do love it and it does have a certain quality that I like, digital for me is just the way to go. So current photography, I mean, overall I think it's just a great thing that with technology and affordability and more people able to buy cameras, and even your phone is a camera, and they're very good cameras. More people are taking pictures, and the platforms out there for sharing and things like that are very positive, and I'm finding people all over the world who are doing amazing work. So I'm very upbeat about the current photography situation, and the future looks very good too. So current photographers I'm following, there's quite a few out there. There's George Byrne, there's a lady called Casual Time Traveler, and there's some on Instagram I follow, Brandon Lavender and Rachel Mendez, and there's one guy called Fred in the Sky. And I'm finding great photography out there, and it's hard to follow all of them, but overall it's a great environment. So those are the ones I'm mainly focusing on, and the reason why is their simplicity in composition, their consistent quality when they post, and they're just solid photographers who have something to say. So current trends in photography, I see every type of photography thriving out there. There's so many people doing it. You know, landscape photography, portraits, street photography, nature photography, even the kind of stuff that I do, which is sort of your common everyday subject matter. If there's any kind of a trend at all, I would say that the platforms that are sharing this kind of stuff kind of defines some things. Like my photography is a little bit influenced by Instagram, since your screen viewing area is so small and you tend to look at it vertically, that I tend to focus more on a vertical format, and I try and strive for simple compositions. So if that's any kind of a trend at all, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. So my current equipment right now is actually, it's almost kind of embarrassing, but this is a Canon EOS Rebel. It's 35mm format, and it's probably about 10 years old. And I tend to use a zoom lens, that goes from 18 to 55. And when I'm out there shooting stuff, I really want to keep it simple and not have to really think about what I'm doing as far as equipment goes. I just like to look for really cool compositions and great subject matter and get it on my camera, basically. I don't want to think about lenses and all that kind of stuff. I just want to clear my mind and focus on what I'm doing from an artistic standpoint. And once I get the stuff into my computer, I tend to use a program called Camera Raw, which is a Photoshop plugin. And I basically do everything in that program, from adjusting shadows and light areas and burning and dodging and things like that. And then I'll take it down into Photoshop and do any kind of cropping or minute little retouching, taking things out, such as extraneous branches or something like that. But basically that's it. It's a fairly simple process. And I kind of liken it to an artist going out with just a pencil and a sketchbook, as opposed to like a full-blown paint set. Something really simple and easy to work with. So yeah, the main platform I have for sharing my work is Instagram at Lindsey St John, and that's basically all I post to.